We're just guys are involved in Spotify, Shopify.
God bless him.
Uh,
And what the money does is amplify. So enjoy.
yeah, they're just coming for the usual suspects now. Now they're coming for the semis. The earlier part of the morning was all, it was Phillips, Oxy, Marathon. And now you got FedEx and UPS putting in ORH days too. So, Capital Flow 101, here we go.
Oh yeah, why not? And I laugh at people who think that these data releases didn't mean anything. And somebody said, "Well, yeah, Philadelphia was good." I said, "Yeah, but do you think it's going to change Fed policy going forward?" He's already committed to the end of 2022, right?
Yeah.
So all you have to think about is bad numbers, because then you'll get the next reaction from the Fed, whatever they're holding back, whether it's negative interest rates or yield curve control. So that's where we reside. Otherwise, trade away. It's just, what are you going to do with your capital is really the issue. What are you going to do with your capital on any given day?
Yeah, well, you just got to wait for the midweek shuffle or the breaks when they're really ugly, and you got to play.
Yeah, until
it doesn't work.
And here, you had the Brits they added another 100 billion sterling to the mix this morning by increasing their bond purchases. So, you got everything in order, as we say, everything in order. And if you listen to them in those 2 days of testimony, it was, really, the Fed is now, and I hate to be so crass as to say it, but when I listen to the language, they are a social justice organization. And from a moral standpoint, I have no problem. From a financial standpoint, I have a big problem. So I would rather the social justice aspect of it stand in Congress, where we get to vote on people, rather than in the Fed, where we're just where there are appointees who are approved. And that's just not enough accountability for my sake, but my voice really is inconsequential, so I can only look for the opportunities that resonate out of that view. So that's all. It's really pretty easy.
And they really took all the metals currency trades apart earlier.
Yeah. Again, but I'm always, they do that. It seems to be a pretty time before the U.S. comes in full force, so to speak. It's been going on. Is there a time? I don't know. We'll see where they close. I'm much more interested in the metal closes, and I'll wait to play. I don't care. It's just we are building out here. I would almost say, it's just widening out. Let's see, fail here, but when I see everything that's going on around the world, the only reason to sell precious metals, of course, is to buy equities.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? You're gonna buy currencies, really? For what?
Yeah.
So we're back. To me, this is February 2013. I'm in the same mindset, except that I want to see which way the gold comes out here this time. My bias isn't to the downside like it was in February 2013. I have a 65-35 bias upward, but I'm cautioned, because when you do have, somebody said there's no alternative, but there is alternatives to gold if you think that equities are really going to be the main thrust. So be attentive. And actually, I think last time I was on, we talked about the the Dow Gold, the S&P Gold, and actually we caught a pretty good move that day. So because we ran into some major resistance being long S&Ps and short gold, and that corrected. If I'm not mistaken, that was the last time we talked.
Yeah,
So
I'm just trying to get to that.
I think it was last Thursday when we saw the big downdraft in the SPOOs.
What did I just do here? Trying to get to this other page so I can put that stuff up. Yeah. Yeah, because it was over here last week when you had the SPOO gold.
Yep. Yeah. I
Put
think it
in
was
that
Thursday.
bottoming pattern.
Yeah, Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Oh, I got Bosco's in, so he saw that I was coming in. So Bosco, yes, you know what? I made a joke yesterday. People didn't get it. That Dave Portnoy is now advising Xi, and he advised him to swap all the U.S. Treasuries for Fort Knox. It's so nuts.
Crazy.
It is, but you know what? In that craziness is nothing but opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Let the rivers run. Let them run. I don't care because there's really no conviction. And that's why we see these moves. There's really no conviction because those who would be the most, would have the greatest conviction, of course, high quality technicians. And I think, really solid fundamental analysts like you saw Jeremy Grantham. I didn't see him, but 20 people sent me emails, which is good. I like that people email me because I need eyes and ears now for as I'm laying a little bit low here. But that's where the conviction is. The day traders have no conviction. Sorry if I'm stepping on any toes, but and so you know what? Go ahead, beat them. Find the correlations that you want to find that you think are correlative, and let's see how long they can sustain themselves. That's kind of where I'm at in my mind right now. There was an article, I can't find it yesterday, in which some large bank analysts were talking about, well, the Fed exit strategy. My point is the Fed has no exit strategy. They've proven it. And my tell and everybody should pay attention to it, was the Bernanke temper tantrum in May 2013 when the Fed truly wanted to start exiting from its experimentation with QE1, 2, and 3. And when the market reacted and Bernanke immediately backed off, that seems to be the thing that they all fear most. And if you listen to Powell, I mean, honestly, it was just more of the same. He's going nowhere. And you could see how the election is going to play out. He certainly can't go. I don't care if unemployment dropped to 7% tomorrow. He's going nowhere because he's painted himself into this corner about wages, and they have to see who's getting the jobs. So that's the critical social nature now of central banking. And they're all talking about it. I read the Swiss held their ground last night, but of course, they go right to the currency, talking about that they'll come in if they deem the Swiss to be too high relative to its other key trading partners. They're very open about it. So whoever tells me that there's no currency manipulation, yeah, I ain't buying what you're selling.
Ira, talk into the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not buying what you're selling. I'm talking actually to the computer, but I had to get up and look at my screen. So let's see where this heads out. But, the equity markets in that regard make perfect sense as you see them, again, pretty well correlated. The equity markets are very well correlated here because they're all floating on the same sea of liquidity. So they like it. Any questions abounding?
Hi, Ira, it's Bosco.
Hey, yes, Bosco, you should be smoking a doobie up in Canada and be done with it. What's going
I, yeah.
on? Sorry,
Uh,
sorry,
no,
Bosco.
I was actually out of town yesterday, driving up in the Chatham area. There's you know how we have farmers markets all over in this area. There's now everyone's selling weed everywhere. You can get your
Oh,
tomatoes and weed,
hey,
Hey,
that's okay. Vitamin C and a little weed, I'm good.
and they're
Throw it.
pushing it as Earth's medicine.
Yeah. Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I go back. I'll go back to the Sioux Indians and the ghost dancers. Just exactly what ghosts were they were seeing and why. And I'm not to belittle that. Uh, I'm a great fan of black elk.
Ira,
Crazy.
there's recently a lot of talk on the Davos Great Reset. Have you seen
Uh,
articles
wait,
on that?
wait. You mean the reset of global capitalism, right?
Well, that's yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm paying close attention because my disdain for Davos keeps me. I can't believe they're already out saying, yeah, we're going to hold Davos. How do you know that? But of course, they're out. They already put that out. God forbid they shouldn't collect their massive fees for access to major league insiders. Because why else would you spend $650,000 for a ticket? Um, it's always bothered me, and the fact that the politicians go up there to speak to them. Well, really, so my battle cry is, and will be for the last 12, 13 years, pepper spray Davos. So, and that should really resonate this year with all the quelling of civil disobedience going on. So I'm a big fan of pepper spray Davos. Why they're allowed, well, they're allowed, they can do anything they want, but why politicians make their way up there. I know why, I'm not foolish, but interesting that we just sit back and watch it. I know they're resetting global capitalism. These are the same geniuses who called Xi the great free trader back in 2017. Yeah, that
So
was right on target.
this goes in line with the reset of currencies related to gold, and there's a comment on the chat here regarding my gold in motion comment. If there's enough physical gold to go around, does it even matter?
Yeah, let me tell you. You know what? There's enough gold to go around. What's the price? I go to that piece that Harley Bassman wrote the other day, talking about that the Fed should just buy in everybody's gold at 5,000 an ounce in order to get enough liquidity out in the system to circulate. A la what basically Roosevelt did. It's actually a very good piece if you can find it. It's called Rumpelstiltskin. Harley Bassman, really very bright guy. You don't have to. It's not always right, but he certainly understands global macro markets in a big, big way. Uh, really one of the high quality analysts out there, and he puts his work out for free. Every once in a while, it comes out, so it's worth taking a look at just to think in those terms. Those who say there's not enough gold, yeah, there's not enough gold at $41, but at $5,000 an ounce, I guarantee you there's more than enough gold because you'll get a lot of people who would liquidate their holdings. So, and you would certainly get, believe me, I think the mines are ramping up anyway. The problem with the gold mining stocks, and I know people are really getting bullish on them, is that so many of them are just so badly managed. That's the problem with the equity markets then that's, I guess, why people become passive investors, because they don't feel they can pick the right stocks. So you're like an insurance company, you buy enough, you take in enough crap, you hope that 7 will pay out, 2 will do nothing, and 1 may fail. So we're in that mindset. But choose accordingly. I do think there are some very good metal mining companies out there. Look at the debt numbers first, because they're like telecoms. When they get too much money, they get awfully stupid very quickly. And they just they just waste money chasing things, as what did Mark Twain say? A gold mine is a hole in the ground with a liar standing on top of it. So that's the business you're stuck with. But Bosco, this is a good place for you, Bosco, because the world really is kind of waking up. The more I see, Golden Motion is good, very good. Maybe you'll make me the chairman of the company, and we'll really accelerate this. Because if you have gold and you're sitting there, it doesn't have to lay dormant. Take it. And I was just thinking about this morning, Bosco, and this is Bosco's business, by the way. So, and that's not why he's on this site. I'll vouch for Bosco's integrity and the way he looks at things. Very good. So Bosco, don't disappoint me. But he's always looking to study more, and that's what he's here for, to listen. But go ahead, send me your gold, and I will lend you, if you're in need of money, it's like a pawnbroker. I'll haircut you 60%, and I'll lend you money at 2%. Right? So
Yeah,
why not?
it's just the classic banking concept. It just, now it's just done in a different way.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's, see, so you don't have to let your gold lay dormant. That's why my whole concept, and I'm actually doing more work on it. The original concept, Bosco, that you built upon, which is, what that was. So now I have some more time to think about these things. It's some people are chasing me around about it.
The
But
basic concept is in bonds, Ira, like that we were talking about for years.
yes, yeah, I didn't want to go any deeper into that. I just kind of let that lay there, Bosco.
Yeah.
But if everybody would do themselves a favor, how many people we got in, Judd? Let me go see.
I don't know. I think we have around 35, 36 right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
are out of town.
You can go look. There was that piece that was put out in 2012 or 13 by the Bundesbank about gold-backed bonds.
Yeah.
So it's worth a look just to build your knowledge base. Very interesting. And the credit markets are really going to be very interesting. Oh, CNBC now comes up. They have Thomas Jordan in?
Well, people that are owning gold, physical gold, they can essentially, you can become your own central banker, investment banker, whatever you want to call it, because gold is money, right? You
Gold
just
is
have
money.
to have a platform to finance it. That's basically all it is. And that's what the bond, issuing bonds
Right.
with the gold backing. So you can, what I think is what can help Main Street is, people that have their physical gold can finance it and lend it to the local business owner that needs help now.
Well, listen, it would also help the hedging business, because there's some private investors with huge gold holdings.
Yeah.
If they put them to work, but a lot of them are a little bit crazed and won't do that. They'd have to get a steam shovel and get it out of the ground wherever they have it buried. But there's no reason not to avail yourself of putting it to work. And that makes it even more desirous. That's why Roosevelt ended the ability to hold gold, because gold was used for backing bonds. In fact, there's still there are still cases going on about the people who owned bonds that were backed by gold, but then those were disallowed, because if you couldn't own gold, how can if the government banned owning gold, how could you possibly be paid in gold according to the bonds? So, but there's a lot of famous cases. You can really, I've read many of them. In fact, what's that book, Bosco, I had you, the American Default? You should get that book. It's really good. Really good.
Yeah, I read that after you recommended it, and it's
a good book.
It kind of opens your eyes. You realize that, it's a lot of it is due to the laws of the nation, and you have to have rule of law, and that that involves the Glass-Steagall Act and so on. So, you know, you can have gold can go to whatever, $10,000, $50,000 an ounce, you know, but if you have that in a, for example, a communist nation, who's to say that the government's going to confiscate it or not confiscate it? You don't, you know, to function in society, you have to have rule of law, whether it's backed by gold or not.
Well, that's right. And you may as well understand the history. You know, there's a lot of people who talk who have no understanding of things that are done. What's wrong? You've never seen racism in America? Of course, we know that's a joke. What's wrong? This country never put in people in internment camps. The Japanese were put in internment camps. What's wrong? They've never tested medicine. You want to see the Tuskegee people when they were experimenting with syphilis on blacks? Come on, wake up. That's why I'm a libertarian, because I've seen what large governments can do. And anytime you empower somebody with that much power, I get nervous. And of course, I'm way late to the party because the government has massive amounts of power, as we see every day. But come on, wake up. It's things you got to pay attention to, because if it's been, don't forget, we are a nation of laws, but it's built on precedent. And a lot of these precedents are not really very pretty, you know. I know we're built on the Constitution, but to change the Constitution is a very arduous task. It is done. That's why we have all those amendments, but it is arduous, and there hasn't been a new amendment in a long, long time. So you have to know what came before you to understand, you know, when people tell you something, well, if it existed before, why can't it exist again? And you should be aware of that. So Bosco, the points you bring up are.
I just had that conversation I heard with my 17-year-old. And I thought I was, back in the 60s, smoking pot, having the same conversation with my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, go. Listen, yeah, that's Bannon's favorite book, The Fourth Turning. It's all about this. Well, listen, you know all about cycles, so why shouldn't what? So sociologically and politically, we have cycles too.
Right. Here's a book I just posted, The Last Kings of Shanghai, that they talked about a couple of weeks ago in the FT. It's right up your alley.
Last Kings of Shanghai?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I read that review. That's about the family from Persia.
Yeah, there's two families.
You're right. The one was the Sassoons, and the other was the
Kaduris or whoever.
Yeah, the Kaduris, and they're still powerful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just started getting into it. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, very unbelievable story. Unbelievable. Yeah, I haven't read the book. I should get it. I'm just so backed up. But yeah, interesting.
I saw it. I bought it, and I figured that was right up your alley.
Yeah, it is. It is. I read after that. I read a couple other things about it, and because I really, they've kind of kept to the side. I've heard of the Sassoons, of course, I've known, with their vast tentacles coming out of Asia, and again, to my chagrin, it's been a year since he died, almost a year. But I wanted to, because we had the same doctor. And actually, you should go on YouTube and watch the interview with Sidney Rittenberg.
Oh yeah, we did that.
Oh, it's great. It is great. Doug Lakin, who's my doctor down here, interviewed him for an hour and 20 minutes before, a few years before he died. But because he died last August, I was supposed to go and have coffee with him. It was like, but of course, I had left Arizona, so I wasn't going to be until November when I came back. So, just one of those moments in time, you go, and you'll never get it back. But wow, to sit and talk with him would have been unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just when you think you know things, you don't really know that much, and that's why I do this every day. I find out every day how little I know. Outside the Swiss, I saw they just had Thomas Jordan on CNBC, right? So I'm gonna have to listen to that interview. I don't know why he's got nothing really to say. But in a world where they say you're not allowed to intervene in the currency markets, the Swiss just go about their business and tell you they're intervening. Again, there's another uh, analysis by the conventional wisdom. It's just friggin' wrong. They all intervene. Everyone intervenes, and they're very cognizant. Read the read the policy statements from all the banks outside the U.S. really doesn't talk about the dollar because the Fed, it's not their purview, of course, it's the Treasury's purview. But the Brits talk about it, the Swiss certainly talk about it, the Australians talk about it, the New Zealanders talk about it, the Japanese talk about it. We're going the Chinese. Everybody talks about it. So nobody intervenes, but everybody talks about it. So tell me exactly how you set policy. But
And that's
But
what
that's
we've been all over that whole thing that you put out, what, 6, 7 months ago. Every time Apple and Microsoft and those names break,
yeah.
and then you might as well trade the ones at Swiss National Bank, Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, and the rest of them are going to buy. Go with the
Yeah.
money.
They even have more. They even have more power than Dave Portnoy. But that's why the gold currencies, the dollar is held because there's funding needs. But if you look at the gold currency, the gold has understood it very well against all the currencies, and it's still one of the critical barometers of really where we're at globally. But that's about it. I think I'm going to go. I saw Richard Benugli invited you also to hear Mester.
Yeah, I'm going to get on that with them.
Although after reading your speech yesterday, I don't know what I'm going to hear. And nobody's going to contradict Powell. Even Robert Kaplan from the Dallas Fed they're all in line. Interesting, we haven't heard from Brainerd lately. So, but the two things that I will be concerned about is negative interest rates and yield curve control. And you know what? And as I say, I'm biting at my knuckles and gnawing on them because I want to get involved in these yield curve plays, but I'm afraid of the Fed, and rightfully so, because if we go back to the FOMC press conference last Wednesday, Thursday, and we saw on what should have been a massive steepening day because Powell was so dovish, especially on the shorts, and that curve flattened, 23, 24 basis points. I'm talking about the 210. Now
I just put that up.
Yeah, where's it at? What's
well, the futures are 79.47.
Yeah, so
right
you know what?
59.
So yeah, so we went from 72 down to 47 quickly. So I felt there was the sigh of relief you heard was me not being involved but it just told me you got to be very careful with them here because they're cognizant of it. What's going to set them in motion? It certainly is. Again, it's not the data. The data is meaningless. I mean, people say, "Oh, Philadelphia, who cares? It's not going to change Fed policy. If the data doesn't change Fed policy, what do I care? Oh, you're going to tell me that make profits look bigger? I don't know that that's the case either. Because the equity market, based on fundamentals, is way ahead of itself. So, but that's the way it is. It's as long as it's propelled by cheap money, and it's a global phenomenon of cheap money. Even the fundamentals of earnings and everything else are tertiary at this point. Policy seems to be on autopilot, if we believe everything that Powell said, and I have no reason not to, because again, don't forget, he pivoted from tightening and raising, tightening and shrinking the balance sheet when unemployment was at 3.5%. So it's always six in my mind. But that doesn't mean there's so many trading opportunities out there because of this. Because everybody, is trying to put their own spin on it. And there's the Wall Street spin, and then there's the hedge fund people who've been negative and really caught off here. So there's a lot of, and of course CNBC has to fill time, so you'll see them all. you will see them all. I don't really have anything else, but I'll take a few questions.
Okay, guys, unmute yourself and ask your question if you want.
Okay, I'm out of here.
All right, thanks, Ira.
All right,
Appreciate
okay.
you coming in.
Yep, no problem. You know, always one of my favorite places to stop. Bosco, glad you're in. It's good for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.